Welcome back to Thacker's Sunday Hangover with me, James Thacker. Today we have a very special guest. I said that she was going to be back after a midweek remedy. It's Miss Sigi Burger. How are you?
Hello, I am so honoured to be back on the podcast. I feel very lucky. He's either lacking anyone else being on it or super desperate. But he's got me on it, and I'm not regretting being on it also.
Yeah, well, first of all, you're welcome to be back on the podcast, and no, I'm not desperate.
It wasn't last minute.
Exactly, it's not lastminute.com at all. How are you? How's your weekend been?
It's been really good, thank you. Obviously, the restaurants, I almost said the clubs, the restaurants are back open, so I have been utilising that to the max. How many meals have there been this weekend?
Three.
Yeah, 3.
Plus a picnic.
And a picnic. So the sun's out, guns out, restaurants open.
Sun's out, guns out. You had a jumper on earlier.
I'm from Africa. I'm always cold. But everyone else seems to be loving the sun. So, no, I'm a happy girl. How are you, James?
I'm wonderful. I've had a lovely weekend with you. Yeah, it's been it's good. Going down to St. Catherine's Docks yesterday, it was good to see people about and, mostly responsibly socially distancing when they're out and about in restaurants and pubs. We went to that, what was it, Bravas?
Bravas tapas?
Yeah, that was beautiful. That was some of the nicest tapas I've had. It's absolutely unreal. So, yeah, if you're ever down in St. Catherine's Docks, swing by Bravas on the way to Dickens pub?
The Dickens Inn.
Yeah, which, to be fair, we probably would have stayed longer had it not been so cold in the shade. It was a little bit windy yesterday, but
if they had a blanket, we would have loved it. It's absolutely beautiful there.
No, it was grand. So I've had a lovely chilled weekend with you. It's been fun, and yeah, hopefully this is I was going to say, how are you feeling now more that lockdown restrictions are easing? Are you starting to feel like your mood's lifting? You're like just a bit happier? Not saying that you weren't happy before, because you're always happy, but like, I know lots of people are now just feel like they can relax a bit more.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it a lot more because now I can see people, or actually just see you in a restaurant setting. So now I'm happy. I'll be super excited once, more opens, aka like clubs or people being able to watch the netball and stuff. But I'm happy that I can at least see people outside. Obviously still very so cautious and keeping it safe because we still have to play netball and I don't want to get COVID or any other strains. But yeah, I'm a happy girl.
Good. How's the situation in South Africa?
As my mum says, COVID is rare here. There's lots of fresh oxygen and lots of sun, so that keeps COVID at bay. So, I'm not giving anyone that kind of advice. But yeah, I think in South Africa, they kind of have put that behind them.
Even though it's not behind them?
Even though they are creating new strains all the time. South Africa strain 1, strain 2, strain 3. No, I think in South Africa, people just kind of have, acknowledged it's there, but still living their life fully because the South African economy can't afford to be putting everyone on lockdown because they didn't have furlough schemes or anything. So, yeah. All my friends are partying, getting married, all of that. So,
no, you said
not that it bothers me.
Well, yeah, let's just say that they're taking a bit of a different approach to lockdown, aren't they?
To COVID.
to COVID in general.
My dad actually the other day had to shut down a whole year group or a whole school because like one year group had like a huge party and basically the whole year group had COVID and like 6 teachers, but I'm pretty sure they partied that week that the school was shut, so
oh my goodness,
I'm not surprised.
Well, stay safe everyone, especially in South Africa, but yeah, hopefully everyone has been enjoying themselves, enjoying the sun, and getting out there and hopefully just enjoying life, getting back to a little bit more normal. What are you looking forward to the most come June? I think it's June the 21st. We can all go back to normal. What's the biggest thing? Apart from dancing on the
tables in Pop World, Guildford.
In Infernos.
And Infernos. I'm not quite sure. Oh, I would love travel. I would love international travel to open. I'd love to go Greece or Turkey or Spain or Portugal. You know, having eaten Spanish food yesterday, I was like, this is amazing and sick. But imagine you were in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
country.
somewhere that actually is hot.
Yeah, well, I'm not
can see the
wearing.
sun.
Yeah, exactly. No, it was sick, but I think, experiencing different types of cuisine is like kind of tickling the travel bug again. So, yeah.
Good. Yeah, I'm the same. I'd like to go abroad somewhere. I haven't.
What are you excited for on the 21st, James?
Well, it depends if. So I don't actually know. I think the Euros are being held here. I don't know whether
Yeah, I
they
think
got.
they are.
I think they got confirmed. So that will be really fun. When everyone's back in beer gardens watching the football again. If we can replicate something like 2018 summer when it was the World Cup.
That was unreal.
Was it
It's like,
2018?
yeah, it was
Yeah.
2018.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was.
It was because 2010 was in South Africa.
I'm trying.
So-
I'm getting. Yeah, because the Euros
2010,
has been.
2014 and 2018,
Yeah,
vibes.
the Euros has been delayed a year, so that's why I'm getting mixed up. But yeah, so I'd love for everyone to get back in that kind of community spirit again, and like get back seeing all my friends. I'd like to go on a little bit of a road trip and see lots of people I haven't seen in a little while.
He'd love to have a few too many Guinnesses and baby Guinois.
Well, yeah, Guinness is not really a summer drink, so it's probably going to be a birra moretti or a Peroni. Probably not.
Keep without the accents, bye.
Why? I think my accent's
Don't say it again.
That's sensational. What does a birra moretti? But yeah, so I don't know. I desperately want to get abroad somewhere. That would be lovely. But in the meantime, enjoying all the best that Britain has to offer. Do you know
We're
what?
going to go pedaling as well soon.
Yeah, we'll just get out and enjoy England for a bit, because when we went to the Cotswolds, that was like a place that I'd never visited before, and that was absolutely unreal. I did the North Coast 500 last year as well. Absolutely unreal. So there are so many things that I haven't seen the Peak or Lake Districts yet. I'd like to go to. We're going to Wales as well with the gang, so we're going to go down there to the beach for a little while. That'll be amazing. So yeah, I think there's still lots to explore in the UK before we look abroad. But yeah, it would just be so nice not having to worry about so much. I don't know whether the mask situation is going to change. I don't know whether you might not. I don't know whether you're going to have to wear masks in shops and pubs and all that soon. But that is one thing I just can't stand.
I can't imagine people having to wear a mask when the clubs open, because
Well, yeah,
that's a
if
bit
clubs are open,
weird.
then anything goes. I feel, because everyone knows what kind of stuff happens in clubs, and
What happens dancing?
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
What were you thinking?
No, but I couldn't understand why you need to have a mask off when you're dancing.
No one
That's
ever has a little fry.
nice.
No, never. Not definitely.
Well, definitely not me.
Awesome. Yeah. So hopefully, lots. I mean, every.
You'll be wearing your mask when I'm not out with you in the club.
Oh well. Hopefully there's going to be lots more to look forward to as we kind of reach the different checkpoints of easing the restrictions, and yeah, I feel like the general mood's shifting. Like everyone's getting a bit more positive now, which is lovely. But I think lots of people need to remember that we still need to be, I suppose, respectful, because I saw so much litter as well, like in lots of parks that we've been to. Did you see the guy that created like a bin bag dispensary?
Yeah,
That
at
was
Hyde
cool.
Park or something. That was really
That
cool.
was lovely.
Give that man
Yeah.
a bells.
Yeah, exactly. So I think, well, I love. I mean, that it shouldn't need to come to that, to be honest, because people should just pick up your litter.
But I'd rather have like 8 bags filled with litter instead of someone having to walk around and pick it up. So
yeah, that's a joke. But yeah, so we all need to kind of be respectful and be sensible, so we can all get out of this horrible mess and just crack on with our lives. And so rugby season can come back, because I am actually dying without competitive rugby. I need it back in my life. Which leads us on to, beautifully actually, what a great segue into the topic of today's podcast, is sport, and more kind of specifically professional, semi-professional sport in lockdown. So Ziggy, do you wanna say what you do? Who you play for?
I don't play. I'm a jockey. The tallest jockey you ever have seen. No, I play netball for London Pulse in the Vitality Netball Super League. Very fortunate to be playing for such an amazing team. Yeah, but I also work in corporate finance. I work as a sales analyst intern at Atlantic House Investments
Okay, and how long have you been playing netball for?
since I was 4 years old. So that's
Wow.
like 21 years now.
That's pretty long.
That is pretty long. But yeah, so I've been playing netball, and we had obviously a break during 2020 season, but we basically had the longest preseason ever because we continued to train as though a competition was going to happen again. But nothing ever happened. So yeah.
How challenging was that time? Because I was part of it a lot, so I saw what you were doing, especially everything on Zoom. But how, after it got cancelled, first of all, how frustrating was that, considering that London Pulse were on a bit of a roll as well? I think you won. Did you win
We won three from three.
So what was the first initial response? How frustrating was that?
Well, the thing is, it's like originally when they said, okay, we can have a 3-week break, that was like frustrating because we were, momentum was with us. But then obviously after 3 weeks, it kind of, COVID was still around. So for us, it was just more a situation of, well, the season is going to resume probably in June, so keep training. And we kept training and kept training and kept training. And then, or June and July. And then by June, when it wasn't resumed, they were like, okay, maybe it will carry on. So for us, it was never, I think in July. And then in July, they kind of were like, okay, well, nothing's happening this season anymore.
Yeah.
So, it wasn't as though we were training in March last year for 2021 season, because in our minds, we were still training for something. So I think that made it easier, because then we were still like, okay, well, if we are training well, we see all our competition like chilling, then we, it like motivates you, because you know you're going to be one ahead of everyone else and fitter and stronger and everything. So we were kind of just like focused on that. And then by the time we found out the season was cancelled, that was fine, because we knew preseason was almost starting again.
Exactly.
So.
Well, you say we, but during the first lockdown that we had during the summer, actually you didn't get to train with anyone else at all. It was mostly all by yourself.
Yeah, I was on Zoom every single morning, 6 days a week.
How difficult was that for you to motivate yourself every day to go and train on Zoom, especially when like myself, when I'm training with my rugby team, one of the best bits about training is actually being able to socialise, speak to people, have that kind of community environment. Yeah. So how difficult was it? Especially, you obviously getting up at 10 a.m. and not that that's massively early, but having to go out there and do kind of your body weight circuits with very little equipment and on Zoom, and it's not necessarily the same feel. How tough did that get for you?
I was enjoying it. Some days, but I think in any sport, whether you doing it on Zoom or just in real life, some days you are going to wake up and be like bored. I feel there will be days, whether you're doing it on Zoom or in real life, where you're not going to feel like doing it that day. But, most days it was fine. There were some mornings that I felt a bit like, not again. But I think looking back at it now, I'm surprised I was that motivated, but also having nothing else to do in the day, I'm kind of happy we had that, because at least it gave you a purpose for each day.
Yeah, that's true. It's nice to have something rather than, I suppose, just kicking around and not doing a lot. It was, and you got involved on my runs as well in the evening, so you had those little extra bits that you were doing to keep fit, I suppose. But I guess it didn't really help, because you were in limbo between your old job, which was coaching at the school, which obviously couldn't happen when you were working from home, and then finding a new job. So I suppose unless you had that training, it would be probably pretty long days. Yeah. I'm just thinking in my head, because of how on off the rugby season's been, and I think we've come back, then it got called off again, then we came back again, and then it was off by Christmas, and now we're back again. Well, we only have just come back in the last 3 weeks. So I think during the first lockdown, it was just so difficult to know, actually, are we just going to be continuously doing running sessions for the rest of time because it felt like there was no end. Like okay, this is all great, in terms of training together. We were training initially in groups of 6 and then it built up. We're kind of thinking all the time, well, when's the rugby coming? Did it ever get to that point for you where you're just thinking this is, especially when you got back into team training, or was it different with netball? Did you kind of have a bit more direction?
I feel with the netball there was a bit more direction just because I knew that something was going to happen because we are kind of semi-professional. So they had told us there will be hubs and there was kind of opportunity for hubs. So I knew there was going to be some form of competition, and we knew that like if there wasn't a season this year, literally Super League would collapse. So we knew that England netball were under immense pressure to pull something off. So for us, I feel we knew there was like something was going to come. So it kind of made it worth the training. Whereas with you guys, I find you were just kept in the dark the whole time. So with us, we knew, okay, it's going to be back by Jan because it has to be. And also, I knew I would have international netball because they were still playing tournaments in South Africa. So I think that kind of motivated me through it all because I knew that you're training for a purpose. So
yeah,
they can't just cancel the sport for the rest of your life.
That's the biggest thing that I think. But to be fair, it's been very difficult for the organising bodies for all sports to put on any kind of competition, but you need something to play for because sports people, we play sport because we're competitive. And even if you're playing down in like the 5th team at your local club, you'll still want that element of competition. Even if you lose, it's not the be all and end all. You need something to train towards, otherwise it's just a little bit demoralising. I think I speak, from my experience and other of my, teammates and friends, that when we've had nothing to look forward to, when we've had nothing, you can train so much, you want somewhere to showcase your ability and what you've been doing and what you've been working towards, and without that, it's, I don't know, it's tough. It's definitely mentally really challenging.
When you now obviously have not played a match pretty much for a whole year, have you, when you were feeling demotivated and stuff, did you ever feel I would rather go play or like train with a club in a higher league that is actually in competition just so I can get that kind of training? Or how did you feel, would you rather go, say now Stortford had to cancel again, would you rather go and, bench for like a team in the top division, but just so you can get your training in? Or, how do you juggle that? Because I would feel so demotivated after a whole year of having nothing and still not being able to know when your season is starting again.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you handle that mentally?
Yeah, if the season, I mean, we've got some friendlies coming up at the end of May, prospectively. Now, at the moment, we don't know for sure whether those are going to go ahead, so we're still kind of holding our breath, and we're prepared for them to get cancelled should it come to that. So I don't think anyone's kind of riding their hopes on that. But if the season's then to be cancelled again in September, that will be a massive blow. So, I mean, hopefully that doesn't happen, and I'm forever an optimist. So I'm, putting a lot of my hopes on that not happening. But
how do you stay motivated, though?
I think it does require a lot of patience. It requires a hell of a lot of patience. You said about would I want to go somewhere else? Well, to be honest, that's not necessarily the answer because, it might be cancelled for them coming up soon anyway. In the championship, they only got off the ground very recently. Even if I wanted to, even if I could, I don't even know if I could do that because the quality's high. I haven't been playing rugby for a while, so I'll be lucky to just get back playing for Stortford again. So my mind's definitely not there. But to kind of the thing that keeps me motivated is and what makes me want to keep fit is what I want to give the best account of myself when rugby does eventually come back. And also, I want to play for my team. So, I don't want to be the person lagging behind because they haven't done the extra yards when everyone else has. And I don't want to let myself down in that way. So, that's my mentality. I just got to keep grinding away. I've really enjoyed, in a way, having a year to focus on myself. One of the things that I've needed to work on all the way through my career is my fitness and making sure that that's tip top. So that's something I took on last summer and just did a lot of running, and making sure that I'm fit in that way. Now, it's been difficult not having gym equipment or as much stuff as I'd like. You know, there are things that you can do, but it's not going to replicate fully what you're able to do in a fully stocked gym and things like that. But you can get fit in other ways, and cardio is something I definitely focused on. So I just, it's about giving yourself little goals. So staying motivated is just, setting yourself little goals to hit, making sure that you've got your eyes on the long-term prize, and, also giving yourself options. So should September, should the season be again cancelled, well, and then rugby's off for like however many months, then what other things could I potentially put my time into? Could it be running? Could it be golf, that I'm interested in? Could it be something else, so that you've at least got something to keep you stimulated, and then you're not just going to be sitting around doing not a lot? Yeah, I think that's super important to do, just make sure that you're giving yourself the best opportunities. And I think there's more and more scope for that now that things are coming about more, and things are opening up, that people can go and dip their toe in a lot more things and maybe try things that you've been putting off before. That's definitely something I think when it comes out of lockdown and people have been, may have put things off before if they wanted to try new things. Time is such a precious entity. Let's make the most of every single day. So go out and say yes to more opportunities, go out, try new things, go and put the extra yards in, make the most of the time, because it can all be taken away so easily by factors that none of us can control. So that's how I'd say I can motivate myself, is just by making sure that we're just making the use of the time. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Did you have any worries coming back out of lockdown? Like, because for me personally, I'm not there yet, but in a contact sport, when after having had a year of not taking contact, my body's probably not going to be used to it. We're doing the graduated return to play now, but nothing replicates how it is in an actual game. So did you have any kind of worries going back into full-on netball?
I had a few worries, but they were more just about performance. It wasn't necessarily like I knew the natural fitness of netball, and that will come back very quickly because I've been playing since I was 4, so it's kind of natural muscle memory. But for me, it was things such as just, having that big match temperament and being able to perform under pressure. And also, the crowd is a big bonus to have, whether they are for you or against you. Either way, just like having something to play for, it kind of, motivates you. So coming back, going into a season where you haven't played for a year, you fit and everything, but when you're actually playing against a different team, that can get difficult, or, you haven't necessarily shot with that kind of arms over pressure or whatever. And also just like playing in what ideally is an empty hall, realistically is an empty hall, kind of just keeping yourself focused and motivated and that energy, because you basically only have your 12 on and off the court and then your 4 management. That's it. To motivate you. There's no crowd atmosphere at all or any music. So, I think the things that were stressing us, or me specifically, is more psychologically, mentally. It's not necessarily physical. I think that's just a big difference between rugby and netball.
I was going to ask you how it's a bit of a interviewer type question about how weird it is without having crowds there, but because you've got quite a lot of people in the UK that do like watching you play and you like having that kind of support network there, how has it actually been not having a crowd? And also, am I right in saying that in Wakefield they pumped fake noise into the, so how was that? Because was that more distracting? Did you struggle hearing the other players, or was it kind of just thing you got used to really easily?
So for me, it's definitely, it was weird because in the beginning, I think it was overwhelming, the whole situation of having no crowd. So that was weird. And then also in the beginning, the noise was so overpowering, the noise that they were pumping into the stadium. or into the hall that we were playing in, because we couldn't even hear the umpires on court and we couldn't hear each other. So it was almost just like deafening. But now I think as it's gone on, I don't even think they play backup noise anymore. But either that or we've gotten used to it, one of the two. But I genuinely can't remember the last time I've heard the noise. So I think the first 5 or 6 rounds, that was a massive thing for us to get used to. But I feel now it just, I think that's what's so cool about like human nature. We just can adapt so easily. So yeah, definitely in the beginning it was weird, knowing that there isn't someone I know physically in the crowd. Yeah, that was also a bit weird. But I think now it doesn't bother us. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. I think it might now almost be awkward when there are actual people in the stands.
Well, I think it would be a different dynamic because I know, having played, even on a small scale for Bishop Stortford, when there's a crowd there and there's like a couple hundred people and you start rolling the momentum and the crowd start getting behind you, how they almost act as like an extra man, woman, person. Yeah. And you're able to feed off that and it can actually get you going. And I think as well as netball's such a game of momentum, I think the crowd does play quite an important part of it, because I remember coming to watch you down at Surrey Sports Park when you played Surrey Storm for Pulse, and how the crowd, when Surrey Storm were up, the crowd started cheering more and more and they kind of built into the game. So maybe it will change the dynamic a little bit when crowds actually do get let back in. You might see the results changing a little bit.
Definitely, because, when we've done like a sick passage of play, there's almost no one to reward that. In real netball, there would be like a huge cheer, which almost boosts you. But now it's like, oh, that was sick. But we are so on court, so focused in doing the next job. It's almost not, it's being celebrated by your teammates and stuff, but they're all cheering behind masks. So, you don't really hear that anymore either. So I think with crowds, it would definitely build that momentum even more powerfully. So shifts would be like way more huge and impactful. Almost,
yeah, definitely.
If that makes sense.
So I guess you've had to, is that something that you've talked about? I think there was one specific game when you had a double header, and the second game of those, you guys, I think it actually might have been Loughborough Lightning, where you guys were super on it, like really, really noisy. It felt very on purpose that you were coming out with trying to generate your own energy. Everyone, it kind of, the energy felt a lot better on the court and coming from the sidelines. So is that something that you specifically talked about with the team to try and get yourselves going and generate your own momentum in that way?
Yeah, definitely. We've definitely spoken about we are 12 strong on and off court. We are 7 on attack, 7 on defense kind of thing. So yeah, we've definitely just focused on backing each other and celebrating the small stuff to, just build that confidence on court bit by bit.
No, it is very interesting. I think it's super important to do actually with any sports teams, to try and bring so much energy to generate your own momentum, but especially when no one's there to watch you and you maybe don't feel supported externally. It's got to all come within. So I think that's very important. I suppose, so overcoming those mental bits and pieces for you, what's kind of been the process to get over any premonitions or reservations you had coming back into netball from lockdown? Was it a fact that you just had to play yourself back in and start getting used to things again? Was it something that you may have just worked externally to make sure that you're on it from a mental space?
What do you think, James?
Well, how do I think?
There were 2 big words in that question, and then I kind of just stopped understanding and panicked.
Well, I think from my point of view, you just had to get back on court, because I think that's where...
just give me court time to build and, practice and refine.
Yeah, I think because before then you really don't know, and also the more court time for you, especially at this stage in your career, I think the better for you. So you're learning how to play against different people. I think
analysis.
I think you feel comfortable when you've got more experience under your belt and you know what's coming a bit more. So would you say now that you're halfway through the season, you look back on those kind of reservations you had and go, oh, actually, I just needed to get back on court. I
Yeah,
need to get playing
definitely.
again.
Yeah, I just needed that confidence and that, knowing we got this and we all have each other. So
Yeah. So because I'm just thinking about, people obviously, and there might be some netball fans of yours that they could potentially be listening to this, although I'm not sure. But I'm just thinking anyone that's looking to get back into sport who hasn't played in a while and has got some reservations, or they're not quite sure about getting back on court, the field, whatever they want to do, because they've been out of it for so long and they're maybe not so sure of their ability now after that time away. What kind of things would you say to kind of get them back on the horse, so to speak?
So for me, I would definitely recommend don't put too much pressure on yourself. Like, you are sick, you just need time to build. So a lot of people come in with it, they put so much pressure on themselves to perform, and you have to be as good as you were when you stopped. And realistically, that's not going to be the case at all. You're going to probably have to take 3 weeks, 4 weeks to build into how you were playing, because it's not just fitness. It's about like the type of movements you're doing. It's like often it's not natural movement. So it's just about polishing, dusting off the cobwebs. So firstly, I'd say don't put too much pressure on yourself. Secondly, like, genuinely just still enjoy netball, like, or enjoy the sport you're doing, because I think you perform best when you're having a good time. If you, like, that was the thing with me in the beginning of the season. I was so panicked and stressed about, like, having to be as good as I was last season and having to shoot those percentages that I almost, like, did the opposite, because, you're so stressed that you can't just enjoy the moment and remember why you started playing netball in the first place. So yeah, definitely just chill, don't put pressure on yourself, have fun, and then remember Rome wasn't built in a day. So
Yeah, I like
keep going until you're happy. So
yeah, step by step, rebuilding back to where you need to be or where you want to be,
and be kind to yourself, like, genuinely.
Yeah, and definitely taking it easy on yourself and don't demand too much of yourself, because this year's been a hell of a year. I mean, it's been over a year now since the UK's been in lockdown, and I think to just expect the same of yourself straight away, it's unrealistic. So
Yeah,
just building into it, isn't it?
and also don't compare yourself to anyone else, because like some people might bounce back quicker than others. Or I saw this thing on social media the other day that is so true. It's like, if you looking at yourself in the mirror now in like underwear, don't compare yourself to Kendall Jenner's mirror selfie that she took when she was promoting Kim Kardashian's underwear, because like she looked like perfect, like super hot and stuff. But like, what you are forgetting, so you now comparing yourself to another person, and what you're forgetting, for example, with Kendall, is she's got chefs that cook for her, she's got personal trainers, she's got, all her treatments still going on. For them, for some people, like, for them, for example, nothing has changed, and you have literally been locked up with no access to gyms, no nothing. So don't compare yourself, because your path isn't necessarily the same as like the person next to you. So
so I guess there's two things. So not comparing yourself to people, especially on social media, where the things that are perpetrated are often unrealistic ideas of what we expect perfect to look like, or what we expect ideal to look like. So definitely don't look at that and then compare yourself and think, oh, I'm not living up to that, because often it's not real, and there's a lot more than meets the eye in terms of what's actually real and what's not. And yeah, like you said, everyone's got their own individual journey, don't they? So it's don't compare yourself to anyone else. It's just doing essentially what makes you happy, and that's something that I'm coming to realize as to how much we, as a human race, we need to really start prioritizing our happiness and making that genuine happiness, not just this short-termist, what we think, whatever makes us happy today, that's making us happy. It's actually that long-term deep happiness that we feel out of really being satisfied with what we're doing, who we're surrounding ourselves with, in terms of our friends and family, and cultivating good relationships again, and just being genuinely happy rather than, I suppose, faking it or anything like that. So yeah, I think that's good advice.
You think so? I hope so.
But also,
it's the advice I would follow.
I was going to ask you, obviously you're now back with the girls, you've been with them for a while. How much nicer, I know you kind of socialise with them on Zoom, but we all know that, well, everyone's in this country and the world is probably sick to death of Zoom calls and quizzes and all that kind of stuff that we tried to do to entertain ourselves on the first lockdown. How much nicer has it been to be able to socialise with the people that you play with and actually just have a bit of banter and stuff in training?
Yeah, no, it's been really nice to be able to like hang with them and still see them socially distanced. And, when we were going up to Wakefield, we were going up the night before because it's like a 4.5 hour journey. And, just being able to have dinner with them and talk about things that is not netball, talking about their careers or silly things like, does avocado go on a pizza? Or, just like that's just a random example, but like talking about the normal things, that is so nice that we're able to, just kind of be human and talk or do things that are not netball related. So.
Yeah, because I can imagine.
Because on Zoom, when you go on, you're only there for an hour, so you're training and you like focus on that. You don't really get to chat about the other side of your life.
Yeah, and I think because you're now living on your own, and I'm sure because of what the restrictions on you are due to the league that you play in and because of what you do, you're not able to necessarily go out and see people as freely as you may like, or at least
that's what other people are doing.
Or back, not just now, but back over the last 5-6 months. So you can feel very isolated. So even if it's not, you're not, at least you're being able to have conversations with other people, reach out,
be a bit more human.
Yeah, and just, how's that been for your mental health? Because it's easy to feel quite alone, but the beautiful thing about sport is that you have that ability to be social, and it's just, I don't know, have you felt like it's been a place where it gives you a kind of release in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think, being able, because I am a very social person, I like my company and being alone. Some days I realize I'm like, if we've got training in the evening, I'm like, I haven't left my apartment all day and I haven't spoken to anyone. Like I'm sitting for hours alone in silence, just like typing along or doing calculations. So for me, it is nice to, be able to see people and socialize. And yeah, I think the weather also helps a lot make a person feel better. So I think lockdown was tough, especially this third one. But now I feel everything's starting to go back to normal. And
what's your biggest aspirations for the future netball-wise? And then we can go on to wider. But in terms of the next year to 2 years, like what kind of things are you most looking forward to from a netball sense?
So my big dream, obviously, well, let's just start with this year. So this year I would love to help London Poles succeed and do really well, make, middle of the table. Obviously, I'd want to say top, but I don't think statistically that is possible. So, I would love to help Pulse in a as high position as possible, and I'd love to do that by me doing my job on court so that Pulse can succeed, so that any ball that comes to me gets scored, because that's probably my job. And then another big one is also making the Commonwealth Games team, and then World Cup as well. And then somewhere in the near future, I would love to have the opportunity to go down under, whether that's to Australia or New Zealand, and have it all run out at netball there. But right now, my main focus is to help Pulse till the end of the season. So, yeah. But I have still a question from the previous question for you. How do you feel your mental health has changed now that you've been able to train and see the boys again and just get a little bit of frustration out? Because I know, you didn't have a gym or a boxing bag. So, being a boy, lots of hormones and testosterone, you want to sometimes just have a outlet, and you didn't necessarily have that.
Yeah, I think rugby players play rugby. You have to be a certain kind of person to play rugby. And then when we've had that taken away from us for so long, I would be so happy, or would have been so happy if we were just able to consistently play touch and play that and just continue training, continue perfecting skills and and getting better in that way. But it's just been really tough with having the on-off, and it's not anyone's fault. It's just been the way that things have had to go because of sensible reasons. But it's been tough to get any kind of consistency. But the biggest thing coming back to rugby this time over the last 3 weeks has been, just having that outlet again, being able to talk to other people. I mean, there have been teammates where before, in the half an hour we get there before training, where we're warming up and doing things, and obviously we're staying socially distanced. But whilst I'm passing a rugby ball or activating or something, I'm able to talk to my mate about how his day's been, and if it's not gone so great, then that's a shame. Like, why is that? And we can talk through things, and you can genuinely, it works both ways. I'd like to hear from people. I also like to tell people about what's been going on, because it helps you talk through things sometimes. Even if you're not expecting advice from that other person, you can talk through things yourself, and you can work it out. So it's been so nice from that perspective. From a social aspect, it's been really, really great to get back seeing everyone. I love my teammates. Stortford's such a great place to be, and I think we're going about everything in the right way. We've now started to introduce, as per RFU guidelines, we're doing a little bit more contact and ruck work now, which is big on my agenda as a back row / second row player. So it's been good to get back involved in that kind of stuff and get our bodies used to taking the hits, although my body's now looking a bit bruised, and it's nice because that's how it usually would be after a match day anyway. So it feels like we're getting more back to normal. I'm absolutely loving having rugby back. It's brilliant, and it's something that I look forward to during the week, and I can't wait for the next time we train. And yeah, it's just brilliant to get back and playing and having these little 10-a-side games like we're doing at the minute, and having a bit more competition, because we've actually stayed in. So we have different colour bibs that divide us up by teams, and so you're staying in contact with the same people. I think, again, that's a guideline thing. But actually now, because we've got formulated these teams, we see ourselves getting better as a team week on week. So you kind of
it's like a buzz.
Yeah. Well, it's nice to just have that when we have the game sessions. It's nice to actually get a bit competitive internally, and yeah, it's been fantastic since coming back. So really, really happy. It's been really great for my mental health for sure. And I stress to anyone that's even thinking about giving a sport a new go, rugby specifically, because that's what I can speak from my experience on. Give it a go. Rugby community especially are extremely accepting of anyone from any kind of pathway. If you've never picked up a ball, or you fancy yourself as a bit of a baller, go down to your local rugby club and give it a try, because more than happy to have you, and it'd be great to grow the game a bit more, especially coming out of this pandemic. So go get it. I was just gonna say before we wrap up, thank you very much for coming on and sharing your experience.
I hope I wasn't too boring.
No, not at all. I think it's useful for people to see, what sport's been like. I think it's of interest under lockdown. I think the fact that you've gone through, the period of been demotivational, you had those, I suppose, reservations about going back in, but you've overcome them, and now you're feeling confident and you're feeling like yourself and you're playing like yourself. I think that will give people a lot of motivation who are getting back into sport now. So I think that was really great. No, it's been good. I'm sure in the lifetime of this podcast that you.
I want to come back on because I've got other things I want to talk about.
Brilliant. Well, we'll leave that as a bit of a cliffhanger for there. One question before we finish. When's your podcast coming back?
Treat him mean, keep him keen. No, I'm joking. My podcast will be back soon. I just want to record a few. Be proud. I want to record some. See how the different interviews that I will have recorded will fit. A little puzzle. Just stay tuned. Turn your post notifications on for More Than Balls, because a podcast might be coming back sooner than you think.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to that. Everyone, thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, drop a comment down on the Instagram post on @Thacker Sunday Hangover. I'd love for everyone to get involved in the community that we're growing on social media. So like the Facebook page and get involved in the Hangover group, where we're sharing little bits just to brighten your day, make you smile, or just general things of interest. And especially looking after your old mental health, because that's always important. I like to share things about that. Big advocate for the old mental health. And yeah, just if you do, one thing I wanted to say, if you do enjoy the pod and you can think of someone else that would enjoy the podcast, pass it on, because it'd be great to share these experiences with more people. And also, it's really about growing the conversation. I really want to hear from you guys. So anyone that feels like they have got questions to ask, things to offer, personal experiences to share, I'm always keen for a conversation. So put it in the Instagram DMs or Facebook page or whatever you want, or just message me directly. Absolutely more than happy to have a chat with anyone at any time. Right, I hope everyone is back out there enjoying themselves, going to the restaurants responsibly,
staying safe.
Stay safe, everyone. Enjoy and love each other, and I shall see you soon.